stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
Wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI-assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
You name it, it's been it. This is probably the greatest all-around track you will ever find in motorsport. It used to be a behemoth. It used to be a very scary challenge where it would rain at one part of the circuit and be dry completely at the other end. It used to be one with a corner that everybody feared in the form of the Master Kink. It then moved into a more, I would say, tamed form. And from that tamed form, we got so many legendary rivalries, especially with the one that you saw earlier on in the advertisements for Heroes with that run up the Camel Straight. Now, it's become one of the great venues of motorsport. It can do it all. It can do the very, very slow and entry-level machines. It can do everything in the mid-level in terms of formula. And then it can do endurance. It can do Formula 1. Today, we're playing GT3 for your World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series here live on YouTube, Facebook Gaming, and also on Twitch as well as some many amazing platforms such as ESTV, the Esports Television Network. We are on with The Race, we are on with Motorsport.tv, and we are on with TVM Sport as well. My name's Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Kieran McGinley. And Kieran, it's worth talking about where we stand. This is the final rounds of the championship, rounds 9 and 10 of your ACC World Pro Racing Sprint Championship. But with 2 rounds to spare, it seems like our championship is already decided.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. And yes, welcome to the legendary Spa-Francorchamps. Yeah, it does seem to be slightly wrapped up, especially for the top 2 positions. We saw last time out, Red One Messaoud has just done enough to secure top spots in the championship. Alongside him, Luke Whitehead grabbing that runners-up spot. Now, in that prize pool, there's still 3rd place up for grabs. We won't go through the list of all the people that could potentially win it. We'll be here all night. But what we will say is we'll try and keep you up to date on who that 3rd place could be going to at the end of the night. At the moment, it looks like it's one Atkins, 111 points. He is in 3rd place right now, but Marcus Littlewood not too far behind in 4th on 100 points exactly. We'll get on to the point scoring in the future, or in the near future, I should say. But as you were saying, Jake, the drivers no longer have to face that 14.9 kilometre behemoth we went to first in 1921. Now it's a much more tamed version, just over 7 kilometres, 7 kilometres and 4 metres to be precise, around one of the most legendary circuits on the calendar. I'm really looking forward to this one. So many legendary corners, such as Eau Rouge and over the top of Radion, down the Kemmel Straight, has seen so much action over the past few years. No less to say one Mika Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher battling down the Kemmel Straight. Lots to look forward to here, and of course, this being one of them, La Source, in towards the very tight hairpin. Down the hill, then you make your way towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Such an iconic circuit, and I'm really looking forward to getting things started here.
And for such an iconic circuit, you'd be surprised to know that it's in this millennia that this circuit has been a permanent racetrack. It used to be a street circuit, as this was one of the combining routes between the villages of Spa and Francorchamps. And now the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps is a full-time venue, and with that has come the ability to really make some changes, such as the most recently changed point on the circuit, that final chicane, which some love, some hate. It's really a Marmite style of corner, 2 off-camber right and left-hand corners, which end the lap and actually extend the track over the FIA track limits that they have for maximum distance of new circuits built to over 7 kilometres. It's also worth noting that this track has actually or by new rules of new track building, it has a start-finish line which is actually shorter than what is required for other places that do get built. But what is key here today is that you have a circuit which is all about history and heritage, and this is going to be all about a battle today for those fighting for 3rd place on and down. The Ashtois cars, who are marked with H3 next to their names, of course, a French-based team. Red One Messaoud, the champion, Luke Whitehead in 2nd position. They're not really going to be the focus too much today, but you got yourself the likes of Carly Atkins, you've got yourself the likes of Johnston. Littlewood is 4th in the championship. You've got the likes of Romanek making great progress with some great finishes and results. And also, the driver in 9th position right now, Nathaniel Thomas, who I think is probably the quietest driver coming into this one.
Oh, definitely. He's one under the radar right now. 5th place in the championship. 93 points to his name so far. Definitely one to watch as we make our way in this practice session. As you can see, the sun is absolutely shining through, and at least for the next half an hour, that should take us through in towards qualifying there. But look at the temperature. 30 degrees air temperature, 39 degrees out on track temperature right now. So it's very, very warm out there. So the drivers may have to take care of their tyres to some extent. Yes, it's a 7-kilometre lap. Yes, we're lapping at the 2:17s as Atkins is at the top of the table right now. But it is a track that can be very heavy on tyre wear if you don't set the car up right. Very easy to overheat those tyres, so you can lose a lot of grip very, very quickly. It's going to be a real challenge for these drivers to just make sure that they keep those temperatures within the optimum range, and the warmer the track temperature is, the more difficult that's going to be.
Exactly, and this is where we find ourselves in a really, really interesting position, because this is a track of 3/3, I think is the right way to put it. You've got that first section up towards Lacoum and Malmedy there, the right, left, right section up at the top of the Kemmel Straight. That's a section where you always need commitment. Then you've got the middle section, which we're coming through right now, the back end of it here, through the Fania chicane towards Campus Corner. There's the campus there on the inside for technology and engineering there on that inside before the famous Stavilo Corner, which leads out to Curvapool Frere here, which is this small kink right, which you take flat out through this section and look to attack towards Blanchimont Corner, this very difficult left-hand bend, which is all about commitment and how much you can keep the throttle in. This final sector is very much like the first sector, so the question becomes here today, which sectors do you want to improve on? Sectors 1 and 2? Oh, sorry, sectors 1 and 3, I should say here, Kieran. And then sector 2. It's a case of finding what you feel like in terms of the balance. What we do know today is in terms of driver's choice, seems like the balance has gone to Aston Martins as the Mercedes goes top with Redouane Messaoud.
Yep, top of the table goes Messaoud there with a 2:17 flat. And yeah, normally when a driver approaches a track, it's normally, well, what does the track most do? What does the track normally feel like? And if it's sector 1s and sector 3s that you need to be focusing on, then you'll set the car up for that and see how you go through sector 2. Ideally, you want the fastest car, you want the fastest setup, but sometimes that's not always possible. Set the car up for where you know it's going to be strong and hope that the strength of the car comes out at the majority of the circuit. We of course have a little bit of a mixture here. We've got the start-finish line just after that final chicane on towards La Source, but of course the pit lane leads you through Eau Rouge, through Raidillon, and then brings you on towards the Kemmel Straight. Now, not only a couple of years ago, about 5-6 years ago, they changed this recently, that the pit lane used to bring you out right in the middle of Raidillon, which was, well, not ideal to say the least. Now it brings you down further down the Kemmel Straight to really try and rejoin you on an open bit of track. Still doesn't help, though, that at the top of Raidillon, it's completely blind as you go through it as quickly as you possibly can. Very terrifying if you're leaving the pit lane then. So drivers are going to have their wits about them from the very get-go in qualifying.
Yes, and that's also something they're going to be very alert to in this qualifying. The fact that you do have such a long pit lane to play with here today. It's very easy for things to go wrong around the pit lane, which is probably taking about over a minute to traverse. So you'll see a lot of drivers resetting today, putting themselves back into the pits, getting themselves out and going again. There is Jimmy Holm in the Holming Missile, apparently his team now has become, in the green Ferrari 777. He's 2 seconds off the pace, but this is one of those few tracks where you can say that, you know, to be within a second around here really says more of a story than other circuits. We know that this is a very long track out here today, and these drivers are going to be definitely battling hard for it. But you have to remember, from where we were last week at Zolder would have been, if you're within a second, that's pretty okay. But here, if you're within a second, you're in the fight for this one, because you've got so many zones out here on track where you can claw that time back.
Exactly, and we're talking about a track that has 4 meters and 7 kilometers as Jimmy Holm now goes into P15 with a 2:18.6, brings himself just over 1.6 seconds behind the top time at the moment. You're absolutely right. When you're talking about a circuit of this length, being within a second is a huge achievement in itself. We see the quality of drivers coming through the ranks here as Dean Vella gets nice and personal with the gravel trap on the outside there, just trying to keep it within the track as much as possible. But when you say, as you're talking about, the length of the track, it's all important just to make sure that you get within a second at least. I mean, even if you're 1.1, 1.2, just like Thomas is there in P12 and Jan-Niklas Erbrich in P13, that's no time to shake your head out whatsoever. That's a very respectable time amongst a field that is very competitive.
It certainly is, and this is where qualifying, which will be coming up in and around the next 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, becomes one of the biggest keys to try and battle with over the course of today. You've got yourself a spin in the background first and foremost, but what we do have is 15 minutes worth of qualifying, and that means a couple of things here today. Firstly, it means you don't get many laps to go out there and set your best possible time. What it also means out here today, though, is that there are 10 bonus points on offer for the driver who picks up pole position, and you get to start on pole position for both races here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be one that, you know, drivers will be wanting to try and get at that moment in time, and one person that will want to try and get that pole position in an attempt and to try and get that P3 in the championship is going to be Khalid Atkins there, the number 41 car. He's only 2/10 off Red One Messaoud, and when we're talking about the length of this track as well, 2/10 is nothing to shake your head at whatsoever. All eyes will be on him to see if he can take away pole position from one of the Ashtois cars. It's only gone to Ashtois cars this season. They've been pretty dominant, and although there's no team championship, it's fair to say that the combination of Messaoud and Whitehead has been pretty dominant in this season 2 of the ACC Sprint Series here with World Pro Racing. We're currently watching Max Vaffel making his way through Lefonia and through that left-hander, trying to get that curb there. We see getting nice onto that little bit of AstroTurf just before campus, then the double right-hander which takes you through campus and then through Stavilo, using all that curb and more if you can get away with it, of course, as you now carry all that speed through all the way through Corbett, Paul Frere, and then towards the legendary Blanchimont corner, the flying left-hander. It's not this first left-hander, it's the second one where you try and carry as much speed as you dare through here. Slight banking towards the apex, but not enough to make sure that you can get through there flat out. You really have to think twice about it. We then head in towards that final chicane and the Team Cruising Missiles, number 67 Mercedes. Through then we go through that chicane and on towards the start-finish lot, straight towards the line. Let's see what sort of lap time Max Vaffel will set. He now goes within a second of the fastest lap time, a 2:17.997, which now puts him into 8th place.
Top 12 in practice here are either AMG Mercedes or Aston Martins, and that says pretty much all that you need to know about how this circuit is faring. You need a good balance, and there's the driver in 13th position in the patented Lexus, Jan-Niklas Erbrich, 2:18.3, his fastest time at the moment. But you do have a smattering of other vehicles out there. For example, the leading Audi out there right now is Nicholas Hillebrand in 15th position. And then you've got yourself the likes, of course, of Rassar back in the McLaren in the 690, trying to find maybe a little bit of place. So it's always going to be very difficult to see who's going to put some times in on the board. And what's interesting is what that driver in 25th place has been doing so far for all of practice. Jack Noller has not set a time at all. He's decided, I do not want to give anybody any clues about how quick I am.
Well, that's one strategy to go about it. Save all your cards and put them all to your chest in qualifying. Don't let them see an inch of what you can do. It's a strategy for sure, but maybe all of his practice is done and he thinks, well, 15 more minutes is not going to be too much time. Then again, you know, we've seen there's 25 other drivers out there who've taken to the track and got themselves a lap time on the board at least. Just try and get themselves used to these conditions. I mean, getting used to these conditions as well is going to be a huge challenge. It's much warmer than we were expecting here at Spa-Francorchamps. Track temperature has decreased slightly since the beginning of practice, but 1 degree Celsius. Whilst it might make all the world of difference to some of these drivers, it's still going to give that challenge of looking after your tyres. There's Calvin Herzl then in the Good Time Racing number 100 car, the Aston Martin taking its way through in towards that newly named X corner, then on towards the double left-hander of course. He pulls to one side and obviously not happy with whatever happened in the X corner.
Nope, definitely wasn't quite happy with the pace, but we are into the final 40 seconds then of practice. Daniel Stramer is there in 10th position right now, trying to find a little bit of pace as well in the number 2 Aston Martin right now as he gets on the power. Uses a lot of that AstroTurf on the outside of Campus Corner, trying to go out there and attack the final sector of this circuit. I must say, for the 12th of February, which it is today, 30 degrees is incredibly hot for a track temperature, but of course we are playing in ideal conditions. We would say summertime conditions, and that's one of the advantages that sim racing has over a lot of other different places that you go, including real world racing also here, Kieran, as practice comes to an end, is that you can set the conditions however you want. If you want a dry race, if you want a wet race, you can make it whatever you want it to be. As we take a little look from the timing tower, and this is effectively our view of things today, and this is how everyone goes through at the start-finish line. This is going to be a very aggressive lap here, you could say, here around this place, and I'm sure these drivers, when they get to qualifying, will find themselves in that in due course.
No doubt about that, and as you were saying, yeah, I'd love to have the same choice that you get whether here in SimWorld as you would outside, because it's currently below freezing, and I'm not a fan of that at the moment. However, 30 degrees in February sounds a bit worrying, so I'm glad it's not that right now. But there you can see Nicholas Hillebrand then in the Butler Powell Motorsport 557 Audi flying his way through Malmedy and all the way down towards Bruxelles. Now, it's a downhill braking zone in towards Bruxelles. Very easy to lock the brakes on entry, and it's still downhill, goes all the way downhill as you go through the corner, so it promotes the understeer all the way through as well. So it's a very, very tricky corner, more than meets the eye, as he now takes it through that newly named X corner. Now onto the double left-hander of Puan, then flying through there. It's a very terrifying corner, this one, slowing the car right down just to make sure he has enough grip on the second part of Puan, as of course the checker flag is out. Now we head our way on towards Lefonia, first in towards the right-hander, then towards the left as you try and find the limits of grip out there. Not using the curb on the right-hander, but using plenty on the left-hander, exit of the curb as well to bring yourself on towards campus. Down into second gear as you make your way through, back on the power early, using all of that curb on the left-hand side to open up the exit of the corner to carry as much speed through possible. Stavelo is established there, and then through Corbett, Paul Frere, and flat out now on towards Blanchimont. Now here's the real challenge. Let's see, we're riding on board with him. Does Nicholas Hillebrand lift going through Blanchimont? Let's have a look. No, not at all. Foot firmly pressed to the ground there on that right-hand side pedal, and now down towards the final chicane. Down the gears here, into first, try and get that car turned in, and then through the second part of the chicane, very tight chicane there. Good overtaking opportunity there, but now we head towards to the start-finish line, and Hillebrand then sets a lap time on the board. Looked pretty aggressive, especially going through Blanchimont, and it just shows you flat out through Blanchimont is definitely achievable. And we've seen cars go through there too wide before, rarely, but we have seen it happen. It's terrifying to go through there on your own, let alone along somebody.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a very tough challenge that we see from everybody here today. But if you haven't already, you can like, share, and subscribe to World Pro Racing for more amazing content, which is brought to you throughout the weeks, every single week. And there is so much coming up, not just when it comes to Assetto Corsa Competizione, but likes of R-Factor 2 and many more platforms out there. Gran Turismo Sport, there's things going on. And of course, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes as well. The way you can get yourself involved with that is if you head over to worldproracing.com/events. That's where you can book yourself in for a chance to go and race here with some of the best. You could be a rank amateur, you could be someone who has been around the scene for years and years and years. World Pro Racing is a very open organization and caters to pretty much everybody out there. So worldproracing.com/events if you want to join in on some of the racing action. But we're just about getting ready here to go to qualifying. The drivers are out there on circuit and looking to get themselves on their outlaps, but it's such a long outlap here today, Kieran, that these drivers probably are not going to get the opportunity to dive down into the pits, especially when it takes 3-4 laps. Maybe here today with the hot conditions, only 2 or 3 laps to get the tyres up into an operating temperature.
I mean, first of all, you got to worry about a potentially 2.5 minute outlap, maybe even more than that if you find yourself out there within some traffic. So trying to find that space out there over 7 kilometers sounds easy, but it's not when you throw 26 cars out there, and especially when they all want to find the same bit of track out there. So trying to get yourself that fresh air out there is a lot more difficult than it seems, but we shall see how drivers handle this qualifying session. As you say, it might take a couple of laps for these cars to truly warm up and for the ideal fuel loads to take over, because what drivers tend to do is put on a couple of laps worth of fuel and just try and go out there, get some laps in. Of course, around Spa, the longer you're out here, of course, the less chance you have of coming back to the pit lane and getting on a fresh set of tyres. So it's really going to have to be maybe even one lap, come back to the pits and go for a second lap, or stay out and just burn off the fuel as much as possible and get into your groove.
Yeah, this is all about consistency, and of course with it being a 15-minute challenge around here today, it's worth noting that with this qualifying session, this effectively becomes race practice if you don't have the ability to dive down into the pits. Now here is Luke Whitehead. We are on board with him right now from the driver's eye perspective, heading into the right of Lekum and Malmedy. Lekum is the right and the left, very aggressive over the middle curve, and then here on the right you can see how early he transfers over to the left-hand side of the circuit. He wants to maximise Malmedy before the braking zone here at Bruxelles, the former Rivage corner, down the hill, always wanting to put the power down. Gravity's working against you. It wants to spin the rear tyres up as much as you can as you head through. It's very easy to run wide through this section. And of course, you have those barriers on the outside, which really do jut in. This track is effectively carved out of the area. Bit of oversteer on entry there into Pooh on the double apex left-hander. Very easy to get that wrong. Luke Whitehead here is just trying to mitigate as many mistakes as possible. He's not being helped by the distance he is behind the driver in front of him.
Yeah, that can give you a little bit of a tow, especially when we're talking about in towards Paul Frere, into Blanchimont, and then in towards the chicane. It might give him a little bit of tow that he needs, a little bit extra onto that top speed. We'll have to wait and see what the strategy is there. But he now makes his way through Stavelot and now in towards Paul Frere, on towards Blanchimont, and we know now it's full throttle all the way through now. Just trying to make sure you get the perfect line through here. You don't want to scrub off too much speed through the first left-hander, then through Blanchimont as well. You'll see drivers take to that right-hand side on towards the green paint there, trying to carry as much speed through, scrub off the least amount of speed possible, then straight down the gears, then in towards the chicane, almost trail braking on the entry in towards the chicane there, through the second part. Now very easy to spin up those rear tyres from the slowest part of the track, on towards that start-finish line then, and Luke Whitehead sets a 2:17.1. That's 4/10 quicker than the car ahead of him, Johnson, but lap time's going to come in thick and fast.
They certainly are, and a 17.1 is really impressive here. This is Daniel Guinchard looking to find some times. Jack Noller jumps up into third position then, so that's where he's been hiding his cards to his chest. He's looked pretty good with things, but Guinchard here looking to try and make some progress through the final couple corners and on towards that start-finish line. It's a short run out of that section to go up there and attack, and he goes P7 only in the PC Boys racing car. Didn't quite work out. Now here's Cully Atkins in the Onyx Esports car. He's looking for a good run. Hillebrand is up to fourth in the Audi, but over half the drivers, I think, are still due to set a representative lap time. Here comes Atkins then in the Aston Martin, and it's P4. Not bad at all there. 7/10 of a second off the pace, but drivers will be looking here in the early stages at least, especially with a 15-minute qualifying session. One banker, and then you can go out there and attack to your heart's content.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those, isn't it? Just trying to make sure that you keep your car in good nick as well. We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. But Alex Johnston's second place right now in the Omega E Racing 248 car. That's the Aston Martin making his way through Pouhon there and on towards Le Fogne. Good job from him so far. I mean, he is in the championship 6th place, I believe, on 79 points. So in with a chance of grabbing 3rd place at the final round. And of course, 10 points on offer here, as you've previously said, Jake, on offer for pole position. And it gives you pole position for both of the sprint races. So it's all important to make sure not only you get the 10 points, but also the best possible chance of grabbing yourself the 2 race wins. A race win here worth 35 points. And of course, 2 races, you get the idea. 70 points up for grabs in both races. And then, of course, we come on to the fastest lap of the race, which is worth 5 points. You get both of those in those races. And then we get something called most consistent or best consistency. And Jake, I mean, it's all sort of maths involved in that one, isn't there?
There certainly is. It's a percentage number that you get at the end of the race. It determines how much you've been staying on the racing line. It determines how much you've been able to carry speed through the corners. It's a number that is very unique to Assetto Corsa Competizione, and you get a derivative value somewhere traditionally between 95 and 99%. You see that often the driver who is the most consistent has a number in and around 99 to 99.5%. And look at Redouane Messaoud, only 3 thousandths over 7 Ks on top. That you can really not share too much about. And I'll tell you what is really key is that the Ashtois drivers have actually gone the split strategy here today. You've got Whitehead there in the Aston Martin and Redouane Messaoud in the AMG Mercedes.
I'll tell you something though, Messaoud is not purple through any of those 3 sectors, yet has put together the fastest lap of the race. He's almost 0.3 slower than Johnston through the 3rd sector alone, so that's astonishing out there. That just shows you that you don't need to have the best car around the whole circuit, you just need to have the best package to handle all 3 sectors.
I mean, this is one sort of race, but we are in qualifying right now, and blink when you miss it. We are halfway through as Alex Johnson massively misses the apex there at Ix, and that's going to pretty much put a dent in that. Lucas Romanek then, the Polish driver over the line, goes 14th then in the Aston Martin. He's had a really good run after his promotion into the pro division. We've got a pro and an amateur category racing at exactly the same time, 2 different teams trying to put that together. But what's key here from Romanek's performances is being up there in 14th position. He's just been one of those drivers who just gets better as the race goes on.
And it's great to see, isn't it? And it's just a shame for him that, you know, it's one of those drivers that gets better the more the races go through. Unfortunately, they're only 15 minutes long. And when it comes to an endurance, when you get better and better throughout the stint, as you get more comfortable and more in the zone, that's only a benefit when it gets to endurance races. Unfortunately for him, it's short, sharp racing here. We've got those 2 15-minute races coming up. And Nicholas Hillebrand here, 7th place so far, 8 tenths off the fastest lap time, and he's really on the pace today. He means business.
I'll tell you what, so is Hülsel as well in 8th position. He's actually tied his time with Nat Thomas, so that tells you just how close they are trying to race here today. Currently you've got the top 9 all within 1 second. Jimmy Holm in the first Ferrari rounding out the top 10 at the moment, but Calvin Hülsel, this is probably his best qualifying he's had all season long, and it just gets better as he goes 7th. He's got something about this Spa-Francorchamps circuit which is really lighting up his time.
Absolutely, and Spa brings out the best in everyone. I think everyone needs a Spa day. It should be the law. Max Vaffel then making his way through Stavolo and now in towards this flat-out section through Corporal Frere in the Team Cruising Missiles number 67 Mercedes on through the first left-hander. Then Blanchimont comes at you here through that flying left-hander. Keep that throttle pressed down as you make your way towards the chicane. So 13th place so far for Max Vaffel, 1.4 seconds off the best time so far as he negotiates his way through the final chicane onwards towards the start-finish line. Will this be an improvement for Vaffel here as he crosses the line? Yes, it will. 7th place, 0.7 seconds off the best time with a 2:17.8. I mean, the track's getting better and better. It is cooling down, I have to say, but even so, the track and the drivers are getting more and more confident and they're getting faster.
Littlewood jumps up to 6th position. I was starting to worry about him in terms of his times with about 5 minutes then left to go in session because he is the driver 4th in the championship trying to push through. Hillebrand trying to make progress over to the start-finish line. Can he find himself the result that he's looking for as he makes the charge? He remains in 10th position despite improvement. Now that is probably the demoralizing sign for a driver. You improved on your time, but you don't see your number change when you go past the stripe. So sometimes that does get frustrating. Here's Vishal Patel. Now, he's a driver who has the most outside of outside shots right now for the championship. He's all the way down in about 23rd, 24th position. He's got 7 points to his name, but theoretically, he can go on right now and get 3rd place in the championship.
Yes, theoretically, mathematically, but he's going to really need a pole position if he wants to make that happen. He's currently 1.2 seconds off the pace right now, and as you say, 7 points throughout the entire season. To be fair for Patel, it's not a bad effort at all. 15th place so far. He's been in and around that sort of edge of the points spectrum here, so it's been a really good season for him. Very consistent for Patel as well, and he'll be wanting to round off this season at least with another strong points finish. Let's see how he ends this lap now as we make our way through Blanchimont in the PC Boys racing car as he now makes his way on towards that chicane. Once again, plenty of time to pick out your braking zone here. Heavy braking down to first gear as you negotiate through that final chicane, trying to make sure you clip the apexes as you go through. Onwards now towards the start finish line, and where will this put Patel in the standings? He stays P15. It was a 2-minute 20.5, which is almost 2 seconds off his best lap time so far.
I can tell you what, he's actually stolen Redwell Messaoud's Aston Martin and painted it in his own colours because he's got the number 1 on that car when he's not supposed to. But here is Carly Atkins, then in 4th position, the number 41 Aston Martin, making progress then through the left-hand bend, looking to attack. There is the Marshal, just stood there, having a good little look through that section to see where he's going to get things going. That's at Malmedy Corner, where he's got his flag going, as there was one driver in a lot of trouble there, going through there, I believe, at the campus corner on the exit, and that would have spooked Kalei Atkins there. Try and go through that section because it could have very easily caused a lot of dramas. We're getting down to the 2-minute warning as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers found out they didn't really have too many worries about that when it came to their Super Bowl appearance. But now here for Atkins going through the final couple corners. Has that actually damaged his lap time here at all? He was down a quarter of a second. Littlewood has jumped now up into 5th place. Oh no, it hasn't. He's just gone fast on a 16.9.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible from Kalei Atkins, taking that top spot right now in the Onyx Esports Aston Martin. That sends a message out to Redouane Messaoud in the Ashtois racing car, making his way through Pouan and onwards now towards Lafonia. Let's ride on board with him in the Ashtois racing car. Through now we go in towards the right-hander of Lafonia, taking that little bit of curb on the right-hand side, then a little bit of curb on the left. As you now use plenty of curb on the exit. Onwards towards campus through the right-hander here, trying to make sure you keep that car in check, using plenty of curb on the left. Just open up the entrance into Stavelot to make sure you can try and carry as much speed through as possible. Through Corbett, Paul, Frere, flat out here once again. He'll be looking down at his timer every so often, just see how he's going along here through this left-hander before Blanchimont, then approaching Blanchimont flat out through here once again in 5th gear and staying in 5th gear. Onwards towards the final chicane, braking heavily, then down towards 1st gear we go once again, trying to make sure you get those apexes nice and in line. Onwards towards the start finish line. Can this be an improvement for Redouane Messaoud? Can he take back provisional pole position? No, he can't. He improves on his lap time but stays in 2nd place.
Incredible. He ran the red line all the way from Blanchimont to that final section. I wonder if he had a 6th gear available, that he would actually be in a great place right now. You got drivers with Ps in pit lane. They're not going to be able to improve, but at the moment, qualifying is coming towards an end. Anyone who starts a lap can finish it. We're focusing on Daniel Guinchard, who is all the way down in 17th position. A little bit out of place for a driver who has qualified as high as 5th place over the course of this season. Really had a good run when it has come to some of these championship efforts, but can he find that pace? He is 1.3 seconds adrift at the moment. If he finds himself a half a second, he's up inside the top 10, but we'll see what he can do in the 37 here at this stage. Johnston can't improve, he's 4th. Littlewood is there in 5th at the moment. It seems like Carly Atkins is going to put in an extra 10 points in the back pocket, which gives him a good advantage, especially seeing as he dropped 15 points to the stewards after some post-race misdemeanors coming out of Zolder. So there's definitely that which is in the back pocket, which will be just changing how things go. But Guinchard then making progress towards the start-finish line. Has he got the lap time that he wants out of it? Yes, he does. He jumps up to 11th. Jan-Niklas Erbrick may be the only driver who can improve. Stromae then is in 15th position right now. He's trying to get himself up, and he does so. He jumps up ahead of Guinchard into 11th place in the GT Omega RPM Esports car. Sheldon Muscat, he has been oddly silent here at the moment around the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. He's in 15th position. Here's someone who should be regularly challenging top 10, top 5, and he's down in 15th position at this moment. Through the right then of the campus corner and on to then the next right then that comes along. That, of course, which he's just gone through is Stavilo, and on forward he goes. He does have a driver behind him. Shouldn't be too much of a challenge. Hosel remains in 9th position. Erbrick could not improve on 7th position behind, so Hosel unable to get what he wants out of it as well. So we just wait then on Muscat, and I believe that's Vela behind, trying to improve on time as well. So through the final couple corners, does just run wide there. Did one Mr. Sheldon Muscat, but Vela as well tried to search for that time. Here comes Muscat over to the line, does remain in 15th position, no improvement, and the session over as Vela jumps up then into 18th place. First time this season that a driver who is not affiliated here, Kieran, with Ashtoire is on pole and gets 10 points.
A valuable 10 points as well, and he can put that towards his challenge for that final, well, I should say, prize pool paying position of 3rd place. I mean, that's what the remaining drivers are going to be fighting over for now, and with Khalil Atkins picking up those 10 points, that now takes him up to 121, 21 points ahead of his nearest rival in Marcus Littlewood. So all points fine off to good for him at the moment. If he can translate these results into race wins, he's got a really good chance of wrapping up 3rd place in tonight's race. Of course, he can't get 1st place or 2nd place. Those 2 positions have already been wrapped up by the Ashtar Racing setup. Red One Mesut taking the championship, Luke Whitehead getting the runners-up spot. So it's all to play for 3rd place. Plenty of drivers can still get it mathematically, but who's going to be able to get it by the end of tonight?
Well, the only place you can find that out is with us at World Pro Racing. We're going to step aside for one moment. When we come back, race 1 is on the horizon. The drivers are getting ready. We are getting ready. Round 9 of 10 here in the Assetto Corsa Competizione World Pro Racing Sprint Series is happening in just a couple moments. I'm Jake Sperry. That's Kieran McGinley, who is alongside me here for the ride. But
What is key is that we now find ourselves in a battleground situation. Everyone's fighting for third place except those who have already secured first and second. And you can see from where they start themselves on the Grand Prix front stretch here for their formation, their mini formation. They will get their racing starting at the endurance start-finish line, which they can get themselves going. And then from that point onwards, it is the Grand Prix start-finish line, which determines when laps get logged. They're going to get themselves ready. It was Kalai Atkins, and there's a spin already there from about 3 rows back. It's one of the Aston Martins in a whole heap of trouble. He'll be lucky that they're in ghost mode at this stage because they're trying to get themselves all started up and ready, so he won't affect anyone with some contact. But let's get ourselves then ready for racing action. 15 minutes, and Atkins and Messaoud both get drive-through penalties then as they go through. A huge drama at the start as they go side by side up the hill. Advantage here to Johnson, who's already moved himself up into third position out to Radion corner, and now through Kemmel onto the Kemmel straight. Suddenly it's disaster as they start things off.
Yeah, you could see in the picture-in-picture there, a bit of carnage going up the hill through Radion there, but now we're making our way to Les Combes for the very first time. You can see there Johnston trying to take advantage, going round the outside of Messaoud there to take second place. Of course, Messaoud has himself a drive-through penalty. He lets Luke Whitehead through to take third place as they now make their way down towards Bruxelles for the first time in this race. Carly Atkins then with a drive-through penalty, but leading this race right now, it's Alex Johnston then in second place. And my, what a start from Johnston. He's absolutely on the money.
He is on the money. He knows that there's money on the line if he can get himself third in the championship here. But here we go to Pooh, and then the double apex left-hand bend as they funnel on through here. This big left-hander with Atkins in control at the moment, but it is temporary at this stage. And this is the worst track out there to get a drive-through penalty at, because you spend so much time stuck at 60 kph trying to even get yourself to your box and through the lane.
Absolutely, it's a tough one. It's a horrible penalty to have at this track, but drivers know that if they infringe the starting procedure, it is just a drive-through penalty slapped on, and there's nothing they can do about it. They've got to accept the penalty. Nicholas Hillebrand here under pressure from Max Vaffel then as we make our way through on towards Corbett Paul Frere. Meanwhile, up ahead, we've got Alex Johnston, who's having to hold back Luke Whitehead. Then we're going towards Blanchimont there, and you could see Whitehead thought about going up the inside of Blanchimont there, but no room for him there as we make our way for the first time towards the final chicane. And when will those two take their drive-through penalties, I wonder? Well, you kind of have to think, because we've got someone off there at the very second part of the chicane and then spun around again trying to put the power on. So he's going to have to try and rejoin as safely as possible, which he does. But we're making our way now down towards La Source then for the second time, but first time in racing, as Max Vaffel then has to be careful from Daniel Guichard, who's put a move down the inside. We've got someone going across the grass then in towards the chicane, and I think that's an Audi. I'm looking at the point there, but we're making our way now down the hill then towards Eau Rouge and Radion. It's Max Vaffel who holds on to 8th place, then Daniel Guichard in 9th and Sheldon Muscat in 10th place. But it's madness. There's so much action happening all around us. We're not sure where to look.
Well, here we go, some side-by-side up to Eau Rouge. This is going to be scary, and it's side-by-side behind as well as they go up through. This is Holzel in 19th, and everyone fanning out over that section. There'll be some slowdowns aplenty through there as they go pretty much door to door. Oh, no, don't try that. That's the Hakkinen onto Schumacher line that we're seeing from Rassar. There, I believe it is, in the McLaren, jumping up a couple of positions. No, I find myself corrected there. That was, I believe, Revox there, jumping up, into what was 20th position, then getting through in that purple Aston Martin, and there's contact. The 100 goes around, one there in the gravel, then on the outside of Malmedy corner. It's always looking like it was going to end in tears, and it does so, but up further forward, Guinchard in 9th, trying to get through it was Nathaniel Thomas, who was the one who spun out earlier on with that run through the final chicane, but Vaffel in 8th. He started to break away from this lot here because you've got Guinchard then jumping through against Sheldon Muscat, and there's contact. That's Vishal Patel who's made the contact there.
Yeah, that was going in towards Lafonia there, and it just looked like Patel did not slow that car down in time at all. And I won't be surprised if he faces the wrath of the stewards then as he makes his way now in towards campus. You can see then that's the number 73 car of Romanek then trying to find his way past as we make our way through Stavilo once again. But Patel holding on to 10th place right now. There's Mikhail Parry, who's down into 24th place in the number 77 Team Cruising Missiles car. So not a great start for him, but at some point we're going to have these drivers in for their drive-through penalties in Kali Atkins and Redwan Messaoud, as they obviously have to use the endurance pit lane. Luke Whitehead giving Alex Johnson a bit of a tap on the rear end coming out of that chicane, and onwards we go towards La Source. And you can see there Messaoud looking for the inside line on his teammate. Of course, there's no team championships, it's every man for himself out there. However, Messaoud is just making life difficult. He's got to be careful though, because Jack Noller is applying that pressure as they make their way running down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radion.
Well, this is the issue that they've got here. Jack Noller is having to play defensive, or trying to play offensive, sorry, I should say. It's Redwan who's going to have to defend, and knowing he's got a penalty as well that he has to play with at this stage. And now Noller's made a mistake up the hill. This is allowing Urbrick in the Lexus then start to attack. You can see right over to the right-hand side of the circuit. Long road, hard travelled then it will have to be for Urbrick, but he's not quite alongside enough to make that happen on the outside. He struggles heavily with understeer. He's going to drop about 2/3 of a second through that section alone, and Noller's got the ability to survive. I'm just hearing that there's a 10-second stop and go coming in for the 777 of Jimmy Holm for a bit of contact on the opening lap with Stramer, as the Porsche of Legreston up in 17th position, only Porsche in the field, then will lose out then in terms of that battle, and has a very big moment coming out of Malmedy.
Just a little bit, but he managed to gather it up, so fair play to him. It's all the reason to lose the back end, but to gather it up that quickly as well still shows you how quick these drivers are to react to these situations. Alex Johnston, second place at the moment, with Kali Atkins yet to serve his drive-through penalty. That's going to open up an opportunity for Luke Whitehead to try and get another win here, as Mauschreck has to defend from Sheldon Muscat as we make our way in towards Lafonia here, as that is Muscat, has to go round the outside initially, then has the inside line, but he gets slightly onto the grass, compromises his runs through, and Mauschreck is able to just about hold on to 12th place for now.
Yeah, there was a bit of contact. Look at that, full opposite lock through the corner, just about surviving his Sheldon Muscat in the AMG Mercedes. God, you couldn't get much grip there on the tyre wall if you could try. But look at Alex Johnson now. You've got to defend this one here on the inside. Whitehead's going to try and send this one around the outside. If you can keep the line, then he's got the inside for the next part of the corner, and he does. In comes Atkins, in comes Messaoud, then both to serve their drive-through penalties. And crucially, Alex Johnston picks up the race lead here, as we are almost at the halfway stage. We're about a minute away from that moment. So now Johnson leads, Whitehead second, Noller third, Urbrick in fourth, and it's Nicholas Hillebrand there in fifth position. And the top five all in a line because they've all been holding each other up.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Atkins and for Messaoud, I believe that was the absolute last lap they had to put in their chance for the drive-through penalty. If they had crossed that start-finish line again, they probably would have been disqualified from the race. So they've left it as late as they possibly can and will try and rejoin, losing the least amount of time possible to the cars behind. We'll have to wait and see where that puts them then in the order. At the moment, though, it is Alex Johnston who leads this first race of the night, of course, race number 9 in the sprint series, trying to lead the way in the Omega E Racing 248 car, as we're now making our way down the hill once again towards the right-hander here of Brussels. We're just over halfway in this race, of course. Not many laps will be completed here, but plenty of distance.
Oh, certainly, and I'm sure that Carly Atkins is going to be very much fuming. Littlewood's way down the order in 16th place. He's not had a good race today, but the fact that Redwan Messaoud as well is down the order, isn't he grateful that the championship's wrapped up? That would have put everything on a knife edge going into the final race of the season, which will be coming up after this race's completion. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 races every night with the Assetto Corsa Competizione World Pro Racing Sprint Series, as we keep an eye on Tom Revox here in this battle. He's in the Lexus right now, and he's got himself a little bit of company in the form of Mikhail Parry right now, as they fight it out for 18th and 19th positions.
Yes, as we're watching on board there, we're back on board with Alex Johnson then as Luke Whitehead once again tries to close the gap. It's 0.4 of a second right now, and Luke Whitehead is not getting away anytime soon, and he wants to try and get past Alex Johnston. Just a fun fact for you, races in the Season 2 of the Sprint Series have only been won by the Ashtoire racing cars. The fact that Alex Johnston is leading this way in the Omega Esports car is a sign that maybe there's that little bit of an armour, a bit of gap in the armour if you like, but Luke Whitehead is looking to try and change that as we make our way towards La Source. They have been so dominant, the Ashtoire racing drivers. Everywhere they go, they seem to win the race, but Alex Johnston is looking to throw that spanner into the works. Whitehead is in second place, then it's Jack Noller in third, Jan-Nicolas Erbrich in fourth, then it's Nicholas Hillebrand in fifth place, Max Waffel in sixth, Dan Ginchard in 7th place, Vishal Patel in 8th, Romanek in 9th, Mauschrek in 10th, Muscat 11th, Thomas 12th, Rassar in 13th, Rizzo in 14th, and Littlewood rounding up the top 15. It's fair to say this isn't a top 15 we were expecting at this point.
Absolutely not, and it also puts Alex Johnston there in prime position for third place in the championship right now. 35 points his way, plus the extra 2 for most laps led at this stage is definitely going to be in his back pocket. So no matter what happens, he's got 2 points. Here is Waffel under pressure. Ginchard diving down the inside, then up at Lecom. And he gets the bump for his troubles. He just about saves it there. And Waffel can't find a way to capitalise. I think he let off the power there and made sure that Ginchard did make that place, did gain that position. So that was always going to be in the back of the mind. But always a good place to go, and we've got some great gainers in this field. Romanek, for example, is up already into 9th place here as we hit the final 5 minutes.
Absolutely, and you saw there as well, Ginchard got the move done, and then was that slight contact from Waffel at the back. You're absolutely right, he let off the power and let Ginchard have the move there, mainly because that means that Waffel, any sort of reprimand that comes his way is just literally going to be a slap on the wrist for any sort of contact there. So he's done the wise thing, just given up on that position for now, just fight another day for that position. Alex Johnston leading the way though, and Whitehead is looking to just turn up the heat here as we make our way in through Stavolo. He's right on the rear diffuser of the car ahead. Alex Johnston is going to be feeling the heat now as we now make our way on towards Paul Frere and towards Blanchimont. Is there a move happening here for Luke Whitehead? He's right into the toe as we make our way through that flying left-hander of Blanchimont, then looking at the rear wing of Alex Johnston. Is there going to be a move here for Luke Whitehead? Will he try and move down the inside? Yes, he will. He's going to launch a move there down the inside. He can't stop it in time though, and Alex Johnston just about holds on to the lead of this race. That was smart driving from him there, and Luke Whitehead wanted to get that move done but just left his braking zone a little too late.
That was all because of a mistake at Campus Corner that completely ignites it, and that is Muscat then losing out around the outside. Goes Marcus Littlewood at Blanchimont to pick up the position there. So clearly Sheldon Muscat is struggling here. Keep the car pointed in a straight line as he fights for everything. Wide on the outside goes the McLaren there of Rassar as he now drops a couple places. So all the positions changing, and we've got 2 laps to go yet here to figure all of this one out. There is Ginchard. He's still under pressure from Max Waffel in terms of that battle, but at the moment it's a case of who wants what and who can get what at this stage. Johnson has himself a second to play with over Whitehead. He's now looking back in his mirrors at Noller and Erbrich, but this battle, 6th and 7th, still going on. Ginchard holds for the time being.
At the moment, 6th place for him as we make our way through in towards Lecom and then on towards Malmedy. 6th place for him so far. He's 4.9 seconds behind the next car in Nicholas Hillebrand here, but with the pace that Ginchard has, I wouldn't rule out a possibility. I mean, it's 2.5 minutes to go in the race, so it's going to have to take some sort of miracle, but he has been on the pace. Unfortunately for him, he's going to have to start exactly where he started in this race, because of course qualifying decides your grid positions for both of those races. Alex Johnston, meanwhile, still leads the way as we're on to what will now be the penultimate lap of this race. So for Alex Johnston, another 11 kilometers and he'll have a race win here, but these are going to be some tough 11 kilometers.
Well, it's all about how much Whitehead can close down, as Kalai Atkins here is fighting for 20th place with Redwell Messaoud. Chalk that down in things that you would hope you'd never hear in 2021. These 2 drivers are not traditionally 20th and 21st place drivers. Mark my words about it. But they are definitely fighting for positions, and crucially, they're racing about right now for 0 points as things stand as they go on through and try and attack. There's Jack Noller in third position. He's looking behind at Erbrick here, who has a chance of a podium as they will go on to start the final lap then of the race. Whitehead is now starting to close in here, Kieran, trying to close himself back in. He's about half the gap here, down to about 0.7 of a second. He's got to get that within the range, though, that he needs to give himself a fighting chance. It'll probably be the final chicane again as Stramair now finds himself a way through on Sheldon Muscat up into 14.
Yeah, nice move there. He's up the order and now trying to chase down the next car in Rizzo for P13 as he'll try and get that position and just try and get himself up the field with these last 7 kilometers as Rissar there finds trouble through that final chicane just outside of the points there. But Stramair here, will he have a chance to get past Rizzo? Well, he's only got that final lap to go. And we're thinking about, of course, the top of the order here, the very pointy end of the order. As you see there, Stramair actually doesn't get La Source right at all, and he's just invited Muscat then to take a route alongside him. They're going to be side by side through Eau Rouge here, and who's going to blink first? It's going to be Muscat who blinks first then, and Stramair is able to take the track position for now. But look at this now, Muscat will have all that lovely tow down the Kemmel Straight.
Certainly will. Of course, we've got to keep an eye on the leading battle as well. This will not be a chance for a move into Lacon, but there is Alex Johnston, and he's actually pulling away from Whitehead in second, who's falling backwards into the clutches of Jack Noller and Jan-Nicolas Erbrick here. Those two want to try and get themselves up a couple places. Whitehead now will be in consolidation. Of course, he had a brake pedal issue last week, which certainly hindered his chances, and I wonder if that's maybe coming back into play, or another issue that he's had. He's definitely not had the best luck over the course of this season, but second place he knows is guaranteed in terms of his championship push. But Alex Johnston here has driven an absolutely wonderful race at this stage. He is pulling away from these drivers behind and has just been the consummate driver, knowing where his marks are, driving to his limits perfectly, and when everyone else around him has made mistakes, he's the one who's had the coolest head on the water, even though he may have been paddling incredibly aggressively like a swan. One final chicane comes into view then for Alex Johnston in the Omega E Racing machine, as there goes Jack Noller down the inside and trying to get through Whitehead in second. That battle continues. Alex Johnston picks up the win overall with a wonderful drive, and just look at that battle for second coming into play here as they get themselves over the line. Whitehead just survives from Noller and Erbrick.
What a battle towards the line there, and what a win for Alex Johnston. That's his first win of the season, and the first win for a car that doesn't have the Achotoir livery on it. Fantastic result for the Omega Esports Racing team and for Alex Johnston. Meanwhile here, we're watching this battle conclude for 20th place. This isn't a point scoring position here, yet these two are firm rivals now as they make their way through the last part of the track, through the left-hander, then towards Blanchimont. You can see there Khalil Atkins is going to have to be looking in his mirrors here, because his mirrors are full of red one. Messaoud then, as we make our way onwards towards the final chicane, Messaoud chooses the outside line. Carly Atkins defending the inside line. They're going to be battling this hammer and tong as they make their way through the second part of the chicane. Messaoud here tries a bit of a cutback. It's going to be side by side towards the line. No, Carly Atkins just does enough then to round off 20th place in this race. I wouldn't have thought I'd be saying that coming into this race, a battle for 20th place being that intense, but a win here for Alex Johnston. 35 points at least. Of course, we will have to find out who led the most laps, who got the fastest laps, but those 35 points alone have shot him right up the order.
Certainly has, especially when you consider that, say, coming into this one, he was about 30 points back on some of his nearest challengers. He's put himself about 5 points clear, if not now 1 point clear, because of how Littlewood fought back for about 4 points here today in this opening race. It is deadlocked between the Omega Esports drivers as we will be heading towards the second race here today at the Circuit du Spa-Francorchamps. That'll be coming up in a few minutes' time here with racing that has been going on. But that battle for third in the championship, it will continue as we go on forward. We're going to step aside here for just one moment, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, the final race then of the season, round 10 from the Circuit du Spa-Francorchamps.
This stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to your World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series finale. It is round 10 of 10, and the big key to that race that we just went through, Kieran, after what was an amazing bit of battling overall at the front, was those drive-through penalties, which really did come into play and change things. All about start procedure, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was for speeding at the point of the green flag dropping.
Yeah, and it's always difficult to try and make yourself into that box. Of course, you get that little bit of a box in front of you. You have to stay within in the entire time you're in that formation lap. And if you go outside it, if you stray outside of it, you will get that drive-through penalty. One thing that was interesting to me, though, of course, Cully Atkins got that drive-through penalty. Of course, he tried to stay out as long as possible to try and get the most laps led points. Whether he got that or not is another question. We head to the race start.
We certainly do, and they'll get themselves ready and prepared then as they will go through the Lasso's hairpin, and Kalai Atkins here is going to have to make sure he's going to be very cautious about the way that he attacks this start once more, as will Redouane Messaoud. They can't afford to make another mistake here at Spa. They've got 15 minutes on the clock, and we saw how that drive-through penalty absolutely crippled their run in terms of an opportunity. But now can you get yourself the chance of a lifetime here? The final race, it will start right about now. No drive-through penalties to talk of then as they run to Eau Rouge and Radion. And we are on a 5-time time scale here in terms of sun conditions. So the sun will set as they go through. Messaoud is down the inside then at Radion, and they're too wide already. And again, it is Johnson who has got a wonderful start, looking to try and find a lane to attack as they go through. Messaoud's on the outside looking in. Let's try and force it 3 wide, shall we, as we go into this section. Oh no, they've all come together. Atkins and also Messaoud off, and through goes
Littlewood into the race lead. Atkins then is going to try and find a way back on, and taking the escape route now is Meso. This is getting a little bit hairy, and all of a sudden, Atkins, I think, has rejoined the race in this one just about, and somehow still has the race lead.
Yeah, Messiah has got a lot of front-end damage there. You can see that bonnet is just popped up slightly there. He should be able to try and get it through, but it's going to be a tough race for him all the way down the order. Khalil Atkins then still leads this race then as we make our way on towards Puon there. Just in that picture-in-picture, if you saw then, it was carnage going over the top of Reddy on there. It's the only way I can describe it, really. We're still going too wide, going all the way through Puon then, and Malshrek gives a little bit of a flash to the car ahead as we now make our way on towards the right left-hander of Lefonia. There's Yassianus on the back of the very purple car of Rassar there. Nicholas Hillebrand then trying to battle away as we now make our way on towards campus. Then he's got the inside line. He'll have that line all the way through and makes his move stick as the standings update all around us. Khalil Atkins then leads the race. Littlewood then in second. Oh, that's a Mercedes. That's Messayu then taking to that gravel trap on the outside of Stavilo. A very dangerous place. Ginchard going up the inside of Max Vaffel. Then he wants to go up the inside in towards Blanchimont. Is he going to make it happen? Then they go side by side all the way through. Both of them go off the track there, but Ginchard has the position and moves ahead of Max Vaffel.
There's a lot to unpack then for the stewards, and there's contact. That's Whitehead in trouble then as he drops down to 4th place. Jack Noller jumps up onto the podium, and more dramas here as one of the Ferraris went straight on, and there was more contact in the background. They're all tripping over each other at the moment. They can't get out of each other's way. There's more spins in the background there at the final corner, and it's complete carnage in the mid to late pack. And oh dear me, Alex Johnson gets a big kick of oversteer on the on-camber Lassour's hairpin, and suddenly Jan-Nicholas Erbrick has to take around the outside, gets the inside at Oruj Radion, and is trying to pick that place up, and he does so. Into the top 5 goes Erbrick. This is a huge battle right now for the top 5 overall, and Atkins leads this one from Littlewood, and as things stand, I believe Littlewood is on course here to pick up 3rd place. Oh no, there goes the Porsche of Legreston.
Yeah, big moment there at the top of Radion as he tries to rejoin the action there. Yeah, Nicholas Erbrick, though, is having a fantastic race here, a fantastic time at Spa-Francorchamps, finishing 4th place in that last race. Now finds himself in 5th place in one of the only Lexuses out there on track. Fantastic stuff. There's another Lexus in the red face racing of Tom Revox there. He's having to really battle away with Messaoud then as we make our way in towards the right-hander there of Roussel's. There's a little bit of a tap between the two of them there. Nicholas Hillebrand, though, is having to hold off Max Vaffel. He's just found a way through, and he moves now up into 8th place. His next target will be Ginchard as Romanek then picks up a drive-through penalty, so he'll have to serve that within 3 laps. Then Revox is having to go defensive once again then as we make our way through, as he now drops to P15. I believe that was one of the Aston Martins there making their way through. I think that was Romanek then who gets a move done, but we now make our way through. We've got yellow flags just behind them, but there's your race leader then, Khalil Atkins. All he can do now is just drive as hard and as fast as he can. It's 35 points for the race win. There's 5 points up for grabs for the fastest lap. There's 2 points up for grabs for most laps led. All he has to do, all he can do, is go as fast as he possibly can.
Yes, and he knows that he's got no other choice. He's left himself the hardest yards in the field to try and pull himself back in after no points in that opening race, as we also know we cannot guarantee what the point situation is at the end of the racing, because we still have to work out some consistency values as well. So Atkins over the line at 18 flat then as he tries to break away. I expect him to be fighting fastest lap honours as they go through. Noller getting himself in a bit of 2 minds there behind Littlewood there as he fights for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Whitehead there in the background. You've got Erbrick, Johnston, Ginchar, Hillebrand, Vaffel and Herzl all there in a train as well. Marcus Littlewood then under pressure. Up the hill they go, through the lefts and the rights. Romanek comes in for his penalty, and in fact, he does try and park it in the garage, and he can't quite do that. Nope, that's not allowed, and he's going to retire the car that way. But you got Marcus Littlewood, though, just about able to pull away up the Kebble Straight.
Yeah, and he's just going to just try and get the pace on now, try and settle himself down into this race. It's a very, very hectic first 7 kilometres, first 14 kilometres even here at Spa-Francorchamps. And putting sprint series in something means that drivers will just try and put the aggression up to maximum. If you can come out of the other side with a clean car, with just a couple of scratches at best, then you've got a great chance of getting a good result. And for Littlewood, for Nola, and on a certain extent for Whitehead, that's what they've done. They've managed to get themselves through, and they're in really good positions now. Whitehead finds himself on the back foot. He wasn't in with a shot coming into this race of winning the series. He'd already wrapped up the runners-up spot, so there's no catching him either. He's just out here to have a little bit of fun. Meanwhile, we're going too wide then in towards the double left-hander of Pouon as Hillebrand goes up the inside there of Guinchard. They're still going side by side, and Hillebrand moves up a position into 7th place as Guinchard looks for a move down the inside once again in towards Lefania, but he can't find the move, and Hillebrand moves up to 7th.
You're not getting past that Butler Power Motorsports Audi. Mark my words. Guinchard then drops the place into 8th position overall. And you've got to talk about Luke Whitehead right now, because oh, how he wished he was still in that championship fight, because as things stand, with Messaoud in the pit and out of this race, he could have been on course to steal the championship if he was in range. He's 5 points out of range overall, but he knows that he had the opportunity. It wasn't quite there. He'll still fight for everything he can possibly get here. He's thinking about it against Jack Nolla. He's not in position just yet, but he's still got half of the race to figure things out at this moment. 4 laps to play with at this stage, and Jack Nolla knows that he is in a Schrodinger's overtake situation. He has to be aggressive against Marcus Littlewood, but he also has to defend Luke Whitehead as well, and that is the toughest situation in racing that you have, to both attack and defend without losing time.
Yeah, it's such a difficult scenario to find yourself in, but if you can pull it off, it's fantastic when you do. And Jack Nolla looks to try and prove himself here as we make our way through Eau Rouge and up the hill over Radion there, and clipping the curb on the way through just for good measure. Finding himself now in the toe of Littlewood, but look in that mirror behind. Luke Whitehead wants a move here, and you see Jack Nolla goes defensive very early on, gets himself out of the toe of the car ahead to try and get the inside line to defend it going in towards Lacombe. It's worked for Jack Nolla, holding on to that 3rd place right now. Khalil Atkins still leads the way as Whitehead then looking for a move up the inside. Unconventional line for sure, and it almost paid off, but Jack Nolla was not willing to give the move there, give the room as well. Whitehead stays in P4.
I tell you what, if Jack Nolla was there and he'd lost that place, I'd have told him to get off the night nurse, because that would have been him been sleeping on a move that was very opportunistic there by Luke Whitehead. Wasn't able to pick it up, but he'll now be very much alert to that backing. It's allowing Littlewood the chance now to break away at a rate of knots, which I'm sure a lot of drivers wouldn't be quite happy with. Littlewood can now focus on catching Carly Atkins, and in fact he has brought that gap down to 1.2 seconds here at the front of this field. Got other battles going on right now as we keep a focus here on 3rd and 4th, because 7th, 8th and 9th looks like it's on here, and it's very much on, because you've got Jimmy Holm on the back of that one as well in 10th place. You can see them 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th all in a line. Ginchar is ahead of Herzl, and Herzl's having a really underrated race at the moment in 8th position.
Oh, he absolutely is. He's having the drive of his life at the moment. He's really enjoying himself out there, and it shows. So he's just looking to try and score as many points as possible, and maybe even find back a way past Daniel Guinchard as we make our way through Blanchimont once again, as Jack Nolla still trying to defend against Luke Whitehead. But you can see the more he defends, the more time he's losing, as that's Guinchard having to defend from Herzl there as we make our way in towards the final chicane through the left hand of the final corner. Guinchard hangs on to 7th place, but Herzl is not making that easy. You've also got Vaffel and Jimmy Holm right behind them too as well, so they're not going to go away anytime soon as we now make our way down in towards La Source.
Yep, once again, 5 minutes, 40 seconds then on the clock, and expect the headlamps to go on, because that timer you can see up the top right middle that you've got right now, it is ticking over about every 10 seconds a minute at this stage. So you can see it's gone 10 past 9. Expect this race to finish at around 9:30, maybe even later than that in sim time as it continues to go on. And this track's going to cool the longer that things go on. You can see side by side as they start to charge up. 5-second time penalty for the 248 machine. That is Alex Johnson then, who will have that added on at the end of his race as we get some Noah's Ark racing. Too wide, too deep through Lakem. Hosel trying to fight back against Ginshaw. Holmes on the inside then of Vaffel, and it's those drivers on the outside who are able to hold there through Malmedy Corner. Very unconventional.
Yeah, and actually that was a nice move then from Herzl there. He gets the position and moves back up to 7th place. Meanwhile, Vaffel was able to fend off the attack from Jimmy Holm there to hold on to 9th place. So 2 very similar scenarios there and 2 very different outcomes. And you can see there, they're absolutely enjoying themselves out there. They're relishing this battle here as you see Jimmy Holm right on the back then of Max Vaffel, who had to slow it down going through the double left-hander of Puon then. Obviously not got the car set up to take that at a very, very good pace. So we'll have to wait and see how he's able to hang on to that car. He's already struggling there. As you said, we've got Revox there, who's got himself a drive-through penalty for an incident on the number 54 car earlier on in the race.
Yep, that was Dean Vella, so those two have come together, and that is a penalty in that gap. Look at how that one all continues on. Jack Noller's still looking behind and in front. Littlewood has been unable to catch Carly Atkins here, who is going to just about, I think, if the maths adds up, steal 3rd place away in the championship. But look how deep on the brakes Jack Noller's searching here. He was diving for an inside line that didn't exist and just managed to pull it up in time before they got there. 2 laps to figure this one out. Look how defensive Littlewood's going. He's right up against the pit wall as they go to the last horse hairpin. Which way do you want to make it happen? You can make the outside work here around this section, but look at this. You've opened the inside up, and we're going 3 wide to Eau Rouge and Radion. This is disaster written all over it. They're going to have to figure things out. Contacts as they go through, tyre to tyre to tyre, as they now look to try and crest the hill. Nobody backs out. Nobody gives an inch. And there's the contact as it's Littlewood and Whitehead who come together, and Erbrick just about skates around into 3rd place. Both of them going to run themselves into troubles, and just like that, you knew it was going to happen. And oh, look at that! In the grass and into the fence goes Johnston there, trying to get around Whitehead as he ran into an alleyway. He was chasing pavements like Adele.
Unblinked, and everybody suffered there as Johnston's trying to get his way past there, but there's no way past Luke Whitehead there as we now make our way through. So he's now down in towards 4th place there. I mean, all 3 drivers there, well, credit to them for the aggression, but there was only one way that was going to end, and that was in tears, and that's exactly what happened there. And Whitehead potentially has to now take a damaged car to the finish line, and it's going to be a very, very long 10 kilometers for him. Johnston then is trying to battle away with the other car, the other Omega E racing car of Littlewood then, as we make our way and we descend down towards the double left-hander of Puon. Then just in that battle then, we have the number 7 car of Nat Thomas. He's now picked up a stop-and-go 20-second penalty for an incident on cars number 2 and 14, and looking up and down the order there, that's going to be a huge blow to Nat Thomas inside the points at the moment, but he's going to firmly drop outside of them. Jack Noller then, that's promoted him up to 2nd place. Jan-Niklas Erbrick is now on the podium and now battling away with Jack Noller for 2nd place. I'm telling you, you could not predict this podium even if it hit you in the face.
No, you absolutely couldn't. This has been a wonderful season of racing, and Jan-Niklas Erbrick is finding Zandvoort form from the inaugural season. He wants to try and get himself in. There will be 1 lap to go after this, and the stewards will be dissecting absolutely everything. I'm telling you, it's not a guarantee who finishes where in the championship for 3rd place on down. Everyone is looking around at each other, and they've pretty much put the Mad Hatter's cap on and said, you know what, this could go any one of a million ways here in terms of this battles. We're down to 1 lap to go here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. 1 lap to go on the season, and it's Carly Atkins out in front at the moment, has been unchallenged since the dramas of Lakem on the opening lap, where he somehow managed to maintain the race lead. But if you look in the background, 4th, 5th and 6th, they're still trying to work out 2 wide here in towards Eau Rouge and Radion, but they are just about, fortunately, back in single file.
I'll tell you what, Littlewood's going to be frustrated with Johnston ahead because, of course, Johnston has the 5-second penalty. That's going to be added to the end of his race time. So, realistically, Littlewood wants to get past because he wants a chance at Luke Whitehead. But Johnston here is not having any of it. He's choosing the outside line as we head away in towards Lakem. Door to door they go as Luke Whitehead defends that 4th place like his life depends on it and keeps a hold of it there. Johnston can't find that way through.
No, he can't. And there's a little bit of ooh on the exit there of what was the big right-hand corner there at Malmedy. And now as they enter the second half of the final lap, look at what all this battling has done. That's Hölzel on the back. They were 5 seconds back a couple of laps ago, and now they're back on the rear. And that includes the likes of Vaffel and Vishal Patel, who we want to try and get in. There's Ginshar in 8th. This is Vaffel trying to get by him here through the double left of Pouon. He's not going to find it that way, but he is going to have to play another case of the waiting game if he wants to go through. Currently, it's Andrea Rizzo who has the final points position right now. 1 solitary championship point as they go on through. But we focus on Carly Atkins here in the number 41. So many times this season, he has shown promise that he can be someone who can fight for this championship a little bit later on in his sim racing career. He's a very young driver. He's someone who's got a lot of talent for the future, so keep an eye on him as he makes his way towards the final chicane and does exactly what he is needed to after a very tumultuous start to racing action. It's going to be Carly Atkins then who comes to the line and picks up a huge victory then to win out overall. It's going to be Nola in second and Erbrick in third, and just about holding on to 4th place is going to be Luke Whitehead. And there's some battling right down at the end. I think that might be Vaffel there under pressure as they come to the line here. I'm not quite sure. It was side by side to go through. That was Hillebrand actually jumping through Vishal Patel at the end. Where did he come from?
Well, he was running up in the order there, up into 8th place, but he fell to 11th again. So something happened to Nicholas Hillebrand then, and then he recovered all the way there to 10th place. Of course, as well, Alex Johnson will be falling well down the field, possibly to 8th place there with that 5-second penalty. And if you had an eagle eye there, you would have seen the marshals waving the black and orange mechanical flag at Luke Whitehead, trying to get him into the pit lane because obviously he had the damage there. But Carly Atkins can enjoy this one. This is a win. He's very much deserved there. A huge congratulations to Carly Atkins there as he just takes a nice quick tour of the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. And the question we have to ask is that going to be enough for 3rd place? He threw everything at this second race here tonight. He's got the 35 points for the race win. He definitely has most laps led, so that's another 2 points. Whether he got most consistent and the fastest lap of the race, well, we'll have to wait and see. Is it going to be enough? Well, we're going to keep you on tenterhooks for now. What a race that was.
I believe Alex Johnson drops down to 7th place if the math is correct with the way that he's dropped, either that or a little bit further. But this is going to be very interesting in terms of the mathematics. I think that Carly Atkins has got 3rd place secured with a nice neat bow on top of that, and that includes the 15 points that he dropped after he found himself fouled with the stewards after racing was concluded last week at Zolder. So ultimately, I think Atkins is coming away with a bit of money in the back pocket, but that is all, of course, provisional at this stage. We cannot guarantee any results at this moment in time. But what we can do is bring in drivers along for a little bit of a discussion. First and foremost, we've got the winner from race 1 of the night, Alex Johnston, here alongside with us. Now, Alex, let's say that's 2 races of very contrasting fortunes, both of which were done with some amazing starts. How on earth did you manage to try and push forward what was a wonderful start to both races with carnage going on pretty much everywhere?
It was a hard races. The both of them. The starts were key. I knew that from Tuesday from the casual at Spa, the Nightmaster. I knew I needed to get a good start and push away to try and win the race.
Well, you managed to get the win in race 1. You were always an outside shot for 3rd place in the championship, but you never say never when it was completely open going into that final race. But of course, you pick up a 5-second time penalty at the start then of race 2 for the contact between yourself, Atkins, and Messaoud. Just talk us through the decision there to try and thread the needle and make it 3 wide into Lake On.
I still think that move would work. I think the car on my left turned in, and that's why us 3 all collided. I still think there was room for him to let me and Kalai go, me and Atkins, and then there wouldn't be an incident. However, clearly that didn't happen, and the stewards think I've deserved a penalty.
Well, still a very good end to a very amazing season for you, and one which you can really say that you've gone from strength to strength. Same with the Omega Racing team. So now you look maybe potentially at a season 3, potentially looking forward to building up some more momentum. Is this the sort of result you look at and go, you know what, we can actually challenge those Ashtois drivers?
I think we can as a team. Myself, Marcus, and that we're very strong. We're good friends off track and in real life. I think we're all quite strong. We have strong setups and we're all prepared. We'll be ready for the next season.
Well, before we let you go, Alex, shout out sponsors. Anyone you'd like to thank, you've picked up a victory and what should be 7th place come the end here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps.
I'd like to thank my parents and team Maggie Racing. Great people, great bunch of guys from Italy, and yeah, thanks to all of them.
Oh, there is Alex Johnson, winner of race 1. Kieran, who have you managed to get yourself wrangled up with?
Well, I've got Jack Noller with me, who finished 3rd in that first race and then came runner-up in that second race. Jack, that was quite an eventful Spa-Francorchamps. I mean, talk us through it. Double podium. You must be happy with that.
Yeah, I am happy with that, especially after the season that I've ended up having. Lots of incidents and choice differences of cars and stuff like that. A season of what sort of hasn't been, but today definitely has been a positive event. It was I spent a lot of work on the weekend setup and really focused on trying to make a top speed car, which ultimately worked and nearly worked. You probably saw on the final lap of the first race. I know Whitehead had gone for a cornering Aston, I'd gone for a straight line Aston, so we have enough respect between us that I went for the move and it nearly paid off, but there was some clean racing, especially interesting for you guys at the end.
Yeah, I'd say that. Just a little bit exciting for sure. With this season, it started strongly at Imola, and then it just didn't seem to quite get that momentum we were expecting. I mean, how would you rate yourself on this season?
It strongly at Imola qualifying and then went downhill from there. So I think generally racing's been good this season. It's just been unfortunate with I chose the wrong car completely at Misano. I've been involved in a couple of incidents that arguably I wouldn't deem my fault, e.g. getting T-boned at Zolder and getting spun race 1 at Imola, which lost me a chunk of points there. But probably, yeah, as you would say, qualifying has been a weakness, but it seems to have been getting better this season. Didn't quite put it together in Spa, but I did put it together in Imola. So it's getting there. Yeah, it's starting to take it to H3, who seems to have been dominating it, but in practices and in some of these races, I'm able to keep with them if I keep my head on myself, which this time I did, especially at 3 wide at Eau Rouge.
Well, definitely. I mean, congratulations on your double podium for tonight. The floor is yours for any sponsors and shout-outs.
Thanks again to my team, RPM Esports, along with all our sponsors of GT Omega, Gaming Malta, as well as HyperX and yourselves at World Pro Racing. Looking forward to Season 3 now, where hopefully I can get back the luck that I had in Season 1.
Well, thank you for joining us, Jack. I'll hand it over back to Jake. Who have you got now?
Well, I've got a number of people, but first I've got breaking news, and that is that for Season 3, it's only one car that you're going to be allowed as a choice. So you've got one car and you're locking it in for the entirety of the season. So that's where things are going to get a little bit more different as things go on. Now, I've got here Carly Atkins here, who managed to pick up the win in race number 2. But the first question I have to ask here, is it Carly or Carly?
It's Kalai Atkins.
Carly Atkins, thank you. So, Kalai, let's talk about those 2 races. Completely different fortunes for you as you find yourself moving forward with the races. The first one, you got a drive-through penalty for, I assume, speeding coming up to the race start. And then second in that race, you had a massive amount of contact and then managed to scamper away.
Yeah, it was an awful start by me. I messed up and got a drive-through because of it, but had the pace and race 1 to win that as well, but it's just my mistake. I had very good pace throughout the whole weekend, to be fair. Onyx gave me such a great setup. I struggled a bit near the end, but I had decent enough of a gap to win the second one.
well, you had yourself enough of a gap, but you have to put that down maybe to some mental fortitude in terms of the way that you were racing and the way that you had to fight back, especially knowing that you got deducted 15 points earlier on in the week as well. You came into this one on the back foot. Do you feel that maybe, there was a lot of happiness and relief on your side when you pick up 35 points, especially when everyone was closing in and you had the championship pretty much tossed up in the air with nobody having any idea, even now, who's got third place?
Yeah, it was a bit my fault again with the points that I got lost, but I think I might have got third, but yeah, it's just a bit unfortunate I couldn't challenge H3 properly until now, but we'll come back for season 3.
Well, it's all about a learning process, would you say, Kalai? Because, you've been putting together the results, you've been getting closer and closer as the season's gone on. This is your first win against the Ashtois team. Do you feel now that you take this as a result into season 3 and say that this is the one for you where you can be, now putting on a spearhead in terms of the challenge from the rest of the pack to Ashtois?
Yeah, I'm hoping to win season 3, beat H3 and show everyone that Onyx is the best team.
Well, the opportunity then will be yours. You've got a race victory under your belt, Kalai. Shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
Right, so I'd like to say a massive thanks to Tim Blacksmith for supporting me throughout my karting career and racing in general. I'd like to say a massive thanks to my dad for obviously getting me my sim, Fanatec CSL Elite, had no issues. I'd like to say a massive thanks to my mum for the support. And yeah, that's it.
Well, there is Kalai Atkins then picking up a race victory after a battle for 20th position in race number 1. Kieran, I believe you found Jan-Nicholas Erbrick.
I have indeed. Now, Jan-Nicholas, one of the drivers here who's been preparing for season 3 with that one car over the entire season. That Lexus has been very loyal to you. But Jan-Nicholas, it's been a very good day at Spa for you. How would you rate that one?
Yeah, finally a podium in the championship. I was lucky to not get stuck in any kind of racing against other people. So I was almost every time I was just watching the guys punting themselves, and I took profit of that. But I was surprised by my race pace. I think I was not able to do that kind of race pace in the first 4 races, so I'm really happy.
Yeah, it was consistent as well. You got 4th place in the first race of tonight, then 3rd place in the second. So you did have some pace for you. You had a lot of luck as well, but still, nobody can take that podium away from you. How would you rate your whole season, Jan-Nicholas?
Awful.
I was hoping you didn't say that, but
the first race at Imola was okay. But after that, I was hit in every single race. I think at where we were driving, Kialami, and the other races I was hit. So yeah, could not get good points. So I'm happy to drive a clean race in the last races. So that's nice.
And what does this mean then for next season? Then is there anything you can take away from this season and take it into next?
It's hard to say. I have more time for preparing for the next season. But I have to care more about other drivers. Maybe I should put on the how do you say that in English? The Rückspiegel. The back. I don't know how to say it. To watch the other cars from behind coming closer to me, because that was a problem. They were too fast approaching me.
Well, Jan-Nicholas, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Congratulations on your podium for race number 2. The floor is yours for any sponsors and shout-outs you want to have.
Only a shout-out to my friends and to my family, the guys who are watching right now, supporting me. It's nice to have friends backing you up when you drive these kind of races.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you for talking to us, Jan-Nicholas, and good luck for the next season as well. Jake, I'll hand it back to you. I have no prizes for guessing who you've got now.
No, I've got the 2-time reigning champion now, Redwan Messaoud. Redwan, firstly, you must be relieved that the championship
finished last week for you with the title compared to this week?
Hello all. Yes, I'm happy to win the World Pro Season 3 2. Sorry. I'm disappointed for the two race I did. Really, for the second race, too much aggressive for me. But it's the game. So I'm happy.
Well, the happiness is there, but let's talk your season. You know, a whole boatload of wins, championship wrapped up early, and, you know, dominance from your team as well. I mean, you bring Luke on alongside you from round 2 onwards, and the pair of you have been almost unstoppable apart from this round.
Yes, too hard at the comb. It's the name of a turn. It's a game. It's the competition. All driver want to win. So it's happened that.
Well, so it happens, but of course, you've got the championship coming up for next season. You've got 2 out of 2 championships here in the sprint series here, presented by World Pro Racing. Are you looking to three-peat? Because we've heard earlier on that Kalai wants to, you know, challenge you and beat you, and you've got likes of Johnston and Littlewood who look like they're going from strength to strength. Does the challenge get harder for you?
Yes, it's harder. It's a top pilot in World Pro Season 2. So new top pilot. It's a good thing for next season, I think. And I would put my title back for the next season.
Well, we'll hopefully see you up there challenging once again. Red One, before we let you go, it is a championship. Anyone you'd like to give a thanks to for picking that one up overall?
Sorry, I don't understand. You can repeat, please?
Shout outs, anyone you'd like to thank.
Okay. I'm happy to look for 2 races he did, and I want to say something. I've opened a setup server on Tuesday, server Discord. You can find the link on my Twitter, Mesaoud Redwan. I post setup on this Discord for the most played cards. This week I've also posted setup for the new DLC. So it's open, and let's go to join this my Discord.
Well, there you have it, Red One Mesaoud now turning himself into a setup guru after a second consecutive championship effort. Kieran, I believe you have his teammate who finished second in the championship, wishing that he was a little bit closer in range.
Well, I do indeed. And first of all, Luke, congratulations finishing the runner-up in the championship. And that's nothing to shake a stick at, because that's part of that prize pool as well. It was a very eventful Spa-Francorchamps race, and I'll pose the same question to you. It had wrapped up. You'd wrapped up the runners-up in that championship. You couldn't quite catch Mesaoud, but no one else could catch you. So how did you approach this race?
Well, coming into the week, I'll be honest, I struggled a little bit for pace. My pedals only arrived on Thursday, so I had really limited practice coming into it. So I was kind of aiming for a top 5. That was kind of because I knew that Marcus, Alex, and obviously Red One, I knew those guys were very quick in Kalai as well. So, to put it on P3 and be fighting up the front, I was really, really happy with. But I was kind of going in, I was very relaxed because obviously I had nothing to lose, nothing to gain. So I could kind of just race how I wanted to race. Sadly, that wasn't the case, with getting sort of bodied around a little bit, which wasn't really nice to experience. But it was, race 1 was brilliant. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the battle with Alex. It was clean. It was very nice. Race 2 wasn't the same, to get sort of smashed around a little bit. A couple of people cutting corners to gain positions, And then, of course, Eau Rouge, I had my nose ahead, turned in, and then just got T-boned, even though I had the corner. So, not ideal, not how you want a race to go. But, I rest easy knowing that I haven't lost anything in the championship, and I still get a little money in my back pocket as well, which is quite nice. So, yeah, I'm happy regardless.
Oh, absolutely. I can't doubt that for a second. I mean, looking back at your season, then you've notched up a couple of race wins. You've been pretty much a permanent fixture on these podiums over the last 5 weeks. How would you review your own season?
I think as a whole, considering everything that I've had, problems that I've had throughout the season with my equipment, driving standards, falling at the hands of others, massive improvement from last season. Last season, my qualifying was often a weakness, and race pace was where I clawed it back. But because obviously I qualified further back, I get involved in incidents. But this season, my qualifying pace was a lot better, and I think I was able to take it to Red One a lot more this season, which I'm very happy with. Of course, there's still race weekends that I can look back on and go, I should have done this. Imola, missing race 2 was a really silly thing on my part. At other tracks at Kyalami, out of my control, my pedals were broken at the time. So to be fighting up the front, even with the problems I had, I'm really happy with. I think Red One was just a little bit too quick for me across the whole. But as I say, I'm still learning. Obviously, as I say, I'm a new driver with H3 Racing. Still learning the ropes quite a lot. I've only really been on this sim for a couple of months, so the progress that I've made is very good, and I'm continuing to push, which is nice.
And would you say that a title ambition next season is a realistic target for you?
Definitely. I mean, I was going into this season aiming for a top 3. Obviously, after finishing 4th last season, I've surpassed my expectations of how I would do. So definitely, I've becoming more and more consistent, and I think over the the break, when I'm not sure how long it is until the next season, but I think the hard work I can put in, I will hopefully be closer to Red One. But then again, he'll probably be improving as well. So you never know until you're on the grid for that first race. But I'm very excited.
Well, congratulations on your runner-up spot in the championship, Luke. The floor is yours for any shout-outs or sponsors you want to shout out.
So I'd like to say thank you to H3 Racing for giving me this opportunity to be a part of their team. I've got a couple of races coming up with them very soon, which I'm very excited for. I've learned so much since Kyalami. I've learned a lot, in terms of racecraft, in terms of setups, in terms of etiquette. A lot of the sim is all about technique, and I've learned quite a lot of that from them, and I'm very thankful for that. Obviously, as Red One mentioned, go and visit his Discord server. You can find it on his Twitter. It's called Red One Garage, I believe. Red One Setup Garage. Go and have a look at that, because his setups are mental. And thank you again to my dad as well, who's sitting next to me now, supporting me as always. And thanks to everyone who watched as well. Hopefully you'll stay with me for next season.
Well, thank you very much, Luke. Congratulations on your second place. Go and enjoy it. And thank you for joining us. And with that, Jake, I hand it back to you.
Well, you certainly do. And the curtain now finally closes in on the season. If you haven't already, you can join World Pro Racing by going to worldproracing.com/events. And if you can get yourself over there, there's many events going on, like the Gran Turismo Sport, Assetto Corsa Competizione, R Factor 2, and much more on the horizon will be coming into play. This is the place where you want to be with World Pro Racing, professional events all the time with a very dedicated team behind the scenes. Of course, the work that has been done has been from the likes of the two teams, the Pro team and the AM team, who have been working incredibly hard together to make sure that everything has been working out together, because you've got Adrian Fagaio and George Muscat, the two race directors here in terms of the works for the Pro and the AM division. The cameras by Nathan Mifsud, as well as Justin Mifsud on broadcast direction here today. But a massive thanks has to go, of course, to all the sponsors that you can see on the bottom of your screen, the likes of AMD, HyperX, likes of GT Omega Racing, Thrustmaster, and Melita, as well as where we have been. We've been on YouTube, we've been on Facebook Live, and we've been on Twitch Gaming, as well as ESTV, the Esports Television Network, on the race, on motorsport.tv, and on TVM Sport as well. From Kieran McGinley there and myself, Jake Sperry, Redouane Messaoud picks up the championship. He did so 2 races early, but my goodness, doesn't he feel fortunate now after what was a torrid race for him in comparison to the rest of his season. Luke Whitehead will be quite happy with second, but he knows he can go one better next time out, and so can the cavalcade of challengers who will be coming in for next season. Kalai Atkins looks brilliant. So does Alex Johnson, Marcus Littlewood. Jan-Nicholas Erbrick has an outside shot. Jack Noller wants to get himself back into championship contention. It's going to be one make next season, so make sure that you choose your car nicely, and we will see you when the time comes for Season 3 of your World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series. From all of us here at World Pro Racing, we'll see you very soon.
This stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
Wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.